and the blood bond. Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he adjusted the gravity compensators on his mining exosuit. The asteroid belt around Kepler 442 was rich in rare metals, but it was also a graveyard of ships that had ventured too close to the unstable gravitational fields. As a freelance miner, Marcus had learned to navigate these dangers with the skill that only came from years of experience and a healthy respect for the void. His ship, the Rusty Phoenix, wasn't much to look at. The hull bore scars from micrometeorite impacts, and the engine made sounds that would terrify any decent mechanic. But she was reliable, and in the Outer Rim territories, reliability meant survival. Marcus had bought her with his discharge pay from the Terran Defense Corps, choosing the solitary life of a miner over the regimented existence of military service. The proximity alarm chimed softly in his helmet, and Marcus looked up from his drilling operation. A sleek vessel was drifting nearby, its elegant curves and silver hull marking it as definitely not human in origin. The ship was massive, easily 10 times the size of the Phoenix, with architectural lines that spoke of advanced engineering and aesthetic sensibilities far beyond current human capabilities. "Well, that's new," Marcus muttered to himself as he powered down his equipment. First contact protocols flickered through his mind. Official procedures he'd memorized during his military service, but never expected to use. The ship showed no signs of active propulsion or life support signatures on his scanners. As he maneuvered closer in his exosuit, Marcus could see damage along the vessel's hull. Burn marks and twisted metal suggested either a battle or a catastrophic system failure. Emergency lights flickered weakly through what appeared to be transparent sections of the hull. Someone might still be alive in there. The ethical implications were clear. Regardless of species, leaving sentient beings to die in the vacuum of space was not something Marcus could live with. He'd taken an oath once to protect life wherever he found it, and civilian mining hadn't changed that fundamental part of who he was. His cutting torch made quick work of the damaged airlock seal. The atmosphere that rushed out was definitely breathable, though with a slightly different oxygen-nitrogen ratio than Earth normal. As Marcus entered the ship, he was struck by the beauty of its interior design. Flowing curves replaced angular corridors, and the lighting seemed to emanate from the walls themselves rather than discrete fixtures. The ship's layout was intuitive despite its alien origin. Marcus followed what seemed to be main corridors toward what his scanner indicated was the largest life sign. The gravity was lighter than Earth normal, giving his movements a strange floating quality that reminded him of lunar operations during his military days. He found her in what appeared to be the ship's medical bay. She was unlike anything Marcus had ever seen, even in the xenobiology courses he'd taken. Her skin had a subtle, iridescent quality that shifted between pale blue and silver depending on the angle of the light. Her features were delicate, almost ethereal, with large eyes that held an intelligence unmistakably sentient. She wore robes of a material that seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury. She was dying. The medical equipment around her pulsed with warning lights, and even without understanding the alien technology, Marcus could see that her vital signs were failing. Blood, or something analogous to it, seeped from wounds across her torso. The liquid was a deep purple color that seemed to contain flecks of actual starlight. When she saw him, her eyes widened with what might have been surprise or fear. She spoke in a language of musical tones that Marcus's universal translator struggled to process. After a moment, words began to form in his helmet display. "Please, do not fear. I am Zarathiel of the Luminari. My ship damaged by void pirates. Medical systems failing." Marcus approached slowly, his hands visible and empty. "I'm Marcus, human. I want to help you." Her translator seemed to work more efficiently than his. When she spoke again, her words came through clearly. "Your species, unknown to us, but your intentions, I can sense. You have Warrior's heart, but healer's soul. The medical bay's main console was flashing what could only be critical warnings. Even dying, Zarathiel tried to explain her situation with a dignity that impressed Marcus deeply. Her people were explorers and diplomats, she told him, traveling between star systems to establish peaceful contact with other civilizations. The pirates had attacked without warning, killing her escorts and leaving her ship crippled. The medical systems require genetic compatibility for advanced healing protocols. My people's physiology, too different from ships. Emergency banks. Marcus studied the alien medical equipment, his engineer's mind working to understand its function. The technology was far beyond human capability, but the basic principles seemed universal. The machine was trying to synthesize compatible blood cells and healing factors, but it lacked the proper genetic template. "What about my blood?" Marcus asked. "Would human genetics work?" Zarathiel's large eyes focused on him with new intensity. "It would be extremely dangerous. Our species never attempted such. The biological incompatibility could kill us both." Marcus had faced death before, in the asteroid belts and military conflicts, in the countless small emergencies that defined life on the frontier. But this felt different. This was a choice made not from duty or necessity, but from something deeper. Looking at Zarathiel, seeing the intelligence and dignity with which she faced her approaching death, Marcus realized that some risks were worth taking. "Tell me what I need to do." The process was unlike anything in human medicine. Marcus had to interface directly with the alien medical system, allowing it to analyze his genetic structure while simultaneously beginning the transfusion. The machine would attempt to modify his blood at the cellular level, creating a hybrid that might be compatible with Zarathiel's physiology. As the connection was established, Marcus felt a strange sensation, as if his very essence was being examined and catalogued. The machine's analysis went deeper than simple blood chemistry. It seemed to be reading his genetic history, his evolutionary background, even aspects of his personality that were somehow encoded in his DNA. Zarathiel watched the process with growing amazement. "Your species. Fascinating. Such genetic adaptability. Such potential for symbiotic connection. This should not work. Yet." The modified blood began flowing into Zarathiel's system, and the change was immediate. Her wounds began closing with visible speed, and her skin took on a healthier glow. But something unexpected was happening to Marcus as well. He felt a strange tingling sensation, as if every cell in his body was being subtly altered. "The connection, deeper than anticipated," Zarathiel whispered, her voice growing stronger. "Our life forces, intertwining. You are changing me, but I am changing you as well." As the transfusion completed, Marcus felt a profound sense of connection he'd never experienced before. It was as if he could sense Zarathiel's thoughts and emotions at the edge of his consciousness. Her gratitude was overwhelming, but beneath it was something else, a recognition of what this moment might mean for both their species. Zarathiel sat up slowly, her movements graceful despite her recent trauma. The medical bay's alarms had finally silenced, and the readings on her vital signs showed levels that were not just stable, but enhanced beyond her species' normal parameters. "What we have done here," she said, her voice now carrying a musical quality that seemed to resonate in Marcus's bones, "will change everything. The blood bond. It is more than healing. It is evolution." Marcus felt it too. His human physiology was adapting, incorporating elements of luminary biology that enhanced his natural abilities. His vision was sharper, his reflexes faster, and there was a new awareness of energy patterns around him that he'd never perceived before. But even as they marveled at the immediate changes, neither could fully comprehend the magnitude of what they had initiated. The hybrid blood now flowing through both their veins carried genetic information that would fundamentally alter the trajectory of two species. It was the beginning of something unprecedented in galactic history. As Zarathiel's ship began to repair itself using nanotechnology, Marcus couldn't even begin to understand. She turned to him with an expression of profound gratitude mixed with anticipation. "Marcus of the humans," she said formally, "you have given me more than life. You have given both our peoples a future we never imagined possible." The awakening. 3 days after the blood transfusion, Marcus discovered he could hear the asteroid belt singing. It started as a faint humming in the back of his mind while he worked on repairs to Zarathiel's ship. The luminary vessel, which she called Star Weaver's Dream, was healing itself with technology that seemed more like magic than science. Microscopic repair drones flowed like silver liquid through damaged sections, rebuilding systems with an efficiency that left Marcus speechless. But it was the music that truly amazed him. Each asteroid, each fragment of space debris, each cosmic dust particle seemed to vibrate with its own unique frequency. Together they created a symphony of the void that no human ears had ever perceived before. "You are beginning to understand," Zarathiel observed, gliding up beside him with movements that seemed to defy the ship's artificial gravity. Since the transfusion, her recovery had been remarkable. Not only had her wounds healed completely, but her natural luminescence had intensified. Her skin now carried patterns of light that shifted like aurora across her delicate features. "Understand what?" Marcus asked, though part of him already knew the answer. "The universe, it speaks to those who can listen. Your species has always heard only silence because you lack the proper receivers. The blood bond has awakened dormant capabilities in your genetic structure." Marcus touched the side of his neck, where a faint silver pattern had begun to emerge, similar to the ones decorating Zarathiel's skin. The marks didn't hurt, but they seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. "And what's happening to you?" Zarathiel smiled, an expression that lit up her features like a small star. "I am becoming something new as well. Your human resilience, your adaptability, it is integrating with my natural abilities. I can feel strength in my body that was never there before. Your warrior spirit flows through my veins." Over the next few days, as they worked together to fully restore the Star Weaver's Dream, Marcus learned more about luminary culture and history. They were an ancient people, among the first to achieve faster-than-light travel, but they had evolved along paths that emphasized mental and spiritual development over physical prowess. Their technology was biotechnology, grown rather than built, shaped by will and intention as much as by engineering principles. In return, Marcus shared stories of humanity's rapid expansion among the stars, their stubborn refusal to accept limitations, and their uncanny ability to thrive in hostile environments. Zarathiel was particularly fascinated by human military history, which was unlike anything in luminary experience. "Your people fight with such passion," she mused as Marcus demonstrated some basic combat techniques. "We Luminari have known peace for so many millennia that we had forgotten the strength that comes from struggle." "Maybe that's why the pirates caught you off guard," Marcus suggested gently. Zarathiel's expression grew serious. "The Void Reapers are not ordinary pirates. They are a force of chaos that has been growing in the outer galaxies, consuming civilizations and leaving only emptiness behind. My diplomatic mission was unsuccessful. They do not seek resources or territory. They seem to exist only to destroy." As she spoke, Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature controls. Through their growing mental connection, he could sense the depth of Zarathiel's fear. The Void Reapers weren't just raiders, they were something far worse. "How long before they reach human space?" he asked. "At their current expansion rate, perhaps 50 of your Earth years, but they are accelerating. Each civilization they consume adds to their strength." That night, as Marcus lay in the sleeping chamber Zarathiel had prepared for him, he found himself staring at the patterns of light, now covering much of his arms and torso. The changes were accelerating. He could feel his body becoming something more than human, just as Zarathiel was becoming something beyond Luminari. He woke to find Zarathiel standing at his bedside, her eyes wide with excitement and fear. "Marcus," she whispered urgently. "Something is happening, look!" She led him to the ship's observation deck, where a massive view screen showed the surrounding asteroid field. But what Marcus saw took his breath away. The asteroids weren't just floating randomly anymore. They were moving into formation, creating complex geometric patterns that stretched for millions of kilometers. "I did not command this," Zarathiel said, her voice filled with awe. "The ship's biotechnology, it is responding to something, to us." Through the ship's sensors, Marcus could perceive the vast network of gravitational and electromagnetic forces that connected every object in the asteroid belt. But more than that, he could sense the potential for those forces to be directed, shaped, controlled. "It's responding to our blood," he realized. "The hybrid genetic material, it's some kind of command interface." Zarathiel nodded slowly. "The ancient texts speak of such things, legends of the first builders, who could command matter itself through will and understanding. But those were myths." As they experimented over the following days, the scope of their new abilities became clear. Together, they could influence not just the ship's systems, but the very structure of space around them. Small asteroids responded to their combined will, moving into new orbits. The ship's biotechnology evolved in real time, adapting to their needs and intentions. But the most remarkable change was in their connection to each other. Marcus found that he could sense Zarathiel's thoughts and emotions with increasing clarity. In return, she seemed to understand his intentions before he fully formed them himself. They were becoming something unprecedented, a hybrid consciousness that was both human and luminary, yet something entirely new. "We must return to your people," Zarathiel said during one of their morning meals. "And to mine. They need to understand what has happened, what is possible." Marcus nodded, though part of him was reluctant to leave this pocket of discovery they had created together. "The military will want to study us, turn us into weapons. And my people will fear the changes, worry that we have lost our essential nature." Zarathiel's expression was thoughtful. "But we cannot hide from what we have become. The universe has need of us." As if summoned by her words, the ship's proximity alarms began chiming. On the view screen, 3 vessels emerged from hyperspace, sleek luminary craft that Marcus recognized as military escorts. "Princess Zarathiel," came a formal transmission. "By order of the Luminary Council, you are commanded to return immediately for debriefing regarding your encounter with the Void Reapers." "Princess?" Marcus looked at Zarathiel with new understanding. She had never mentioned her royal status, treating him as an equal from the moment they met. "I should have told you," she said quietly, sensing his thoughts. "But titles seemed irrelevant, given what we were experiencing." The escort ships were demanding immediate compliance, their commanders growing increasingly agitated by Zarathiel's delay in responding. Marcus could sense through their connection that she was torn between duty to her people and the need to protect what they had discovered together. "We go together," Marcus said firmly. "Whatever happens, we face it as partners." Zarathiel's smile was radiant. "Yes, partners in evolution. Let us show both our species what the future can hold." As the Star Weaver's dream moved to join the escort formation, Marcus felt the weight of destiny settling around them. They were no longer just individuals who had shared blood to save a life. They had become the bridge between two species, and possibly the key to survival in a universe where chaos was spreading like a tide of darkness. Behind them, the asteroids continued their complex dance, now permanently altered by the forces they had awakened. The void itself seemed to be preparing for what was to come. The new frontier. The Joint Council meeting was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. For the first time in over 3,000 years, representatives from both the Terran Federation and the Luminari Collective sat in the same chamber, their two species attempting to understand the implications of what Marcus and Zarathiel had become. The Luminari homeworld of Ethros was a testament to biotechnology and harmony with nature. Cities grew like living organisms from the planet's surface, their spire-like structures reaching toward twin suns that painted everything in shades of gold and silver. The council chamber itself was a massive living structure, its walls pulsing gently with bioluminescent patterns that responded to the emotions of those within. Marcus sat beside Zarathiel at the center of the circular chamber, acutely aware of the thousands of eyes focused on them. Representatives from dozens of worlds had come to witness this moment. Through his enhanced senses, he could feel the mixture of wonder, fear, and hope emanating from the assembled beings. Admiral Sarah Chen, Marcus's former commanding officer and distant cousin, spoke for the human delegation. The medical reports are extraordinary. Mr. Chen's cellular structure has been fundamentally altered. His reflexes, strength, and cognitive abilities have all increased by factors we previously thought impossible. But more than that, he seems to have developed capabilities that our science cannot explain. High Counselor Veltar, an ancient luminari whose skin held the accumulated light patterns of centuries, responded with formal dignity. Princess Zarathiel has undergone equally remarkable changes. Her natural abilities have been enhanced, but she has also gained what can only be described as human determination, a focus and drive that is foreign to our contemplative nature. With respect, Marcus interjected, rising to address the assembly, you're all missing the point. This isn't about what we've individually gained. It's about what we've become together. As he spoke, Marcus felt Zarathiel's consciousness merge with his own, their thoughts becoming unified. When they gestured simultaneously, the chamber's bioluminescent walls responded, displaying images that neither species had the technology to project, visual representations of their shared memories, their joint discoveries, their growing understanding of the universe's deeper patterns. The blood bond has created something new, Zarathiel continued seamlessly, her voice harmonizing with Marcus's in ways that made the chamber's acoustics sing. We are no longer purely human or purely luminari. We are the first of what both species could become. The demonstration that followed silenced all debate. Together, Marcus and Zarathiel reached out with their enhanced abilities and began reshaping the chamber itself. The living walls flowed like water, creating new configurations and structures that were both beautiful and purposeful. They showed how space could be folded to enable instant communication across vast distances, how matter itself could be convinced to take new forms, how the boundaries between technology and biology were illusions born of limited understanding. But it was what came next that truly stunned the assembly. 3 weeks ago, Marcus announced, long-range sensors detected the Void Reaper's advanced scouts entering the Outer Rim territories. They will reach inhabited systems within months, not years. Traditional weapons and defenses have proven useless against them, but we have discovered something they cannot account for. The chamber's displays shifted to show the asteroid field where Marcus and Zarathiel had first met. But now it was transformed into something that defied conventional understanding. The asteroids had become components of a vast machine, their movements creating patterns of force that rippled through space-time itself. The universe responds to conscious will when that will is backed by sufficient understanding, Zarathiel explained. The Void Reapers consume and destroy, but they cannot comprehend creation through cooperation. They cannot adapt to an enemy that literally rewrites the rules of engagement. Admiral Chen leaned forward, her military mind immediately grasping the implications. You're talking about turning entire star systems into weapons. Not weapons, Marcus corrected. Into gardens, into nurseries for a new kind of consciousness. The blood bond can be replicated, but only through genuine cooperation and mutual trust. It cannot be forced or manufactured. Each joining creates something unique, something that adds to our collective capabilities. Over the following hours, Marcus and Zarathiel outlined their proposal. Volunteers from both species would undergo the bonding process, creating hybrid pairs that combined human adaptability and determination with luminary wisdom and biotechnological mastery. These new beings would serve as bridges, not just between their species, but between consciousness and cosmos. The debate that followed was intense. Conservative factions from both species argued that they were proposing the extinction of pure human and luminary bloodlines. Progressive voices countered that evolution was survival and stagnation was death. Religious leaders from dozens of worlds debated whether such changes were blasphemy or divine will. But it was the arrival of urgent communications from the Outer Rim that ended all debate. The mining colony at Zarion 7 has gone dark, Admiral Chen announced grimly. Automated distress beacons show complete system failure. The Void Reapers have begun their final advance. In the silence that followed, Marcus felt the weight of the moment. Every being in the chamber understood that they stood at a crossroads, not just for their species, but for all conscious life in the galaxy. The choice is simple, Zarathiel said, her musical voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. Evolve or perish, join us or face extinction alone. The vote, when it came, was not unanimous, but it was decisive. Volunteers would be called for from both species, and the bonding process would begin immediately. The first generation would focus on defense, learning to coordinate their abilities to create barriers and weapons that the Void Reapers could not comprehend or counter. But Marcus and Zarathiel had larger plans. As they stood before the assembly in the aftermath of the historic vote, their shared consciousness already reaching out to touch the volunteers who would join them, they saw not just survival, but transformation. This is only the beginning, Marcus said to the assembled representatives. Today, 2 species chose to become one. Tomorrow, that one species will invite others to join us. We will build a network of consciousness that spans the galaxy, each unique culture adding its own strengths to the collective. The first bonding ceremonies began within days. Human soldiers paired with luminary biotechnicians, Terran engineers merged with Ethrosian philosophers. Scientists, artists, explorers, and dreamers from both species volunteered to become something new. Each bonding was different, creating unique combinations of abilities and perspectives. Some pairs developed the ability to manipulate gravity directly. Others could communicate instantly across interstellar distances. A few discovered they could create matter from pure energy, or step outside normal space-time to observe events from impossible perspectives. But all of them shared the connection that Marcus and Zarathiel had pioneered. Through the network of hybrid consciousness, information and understanding flowed freely. Strategies developed by one pair were instantly available to all others. Discoveries made at the edge of known space were immediately integrated into defenses at the galactic core. When the Void Reapers finally reached the first defended system, they encountered something unprecedented. Space itself seemed to resist their approach, creating barriers of twisted gravity and impossible geometries. Asteroids moved with purpose and intelligence, forming defensive formations that adapted faster than the attackers could counter. But most confusing to the Void Reapers was their inability to corrupt or consume the defenders they faced. The hybrid consciousness was proof against their reality-devouring weapons, sustained by bonds that transcended individual existence. The first major battle was fought at the edge of the Kepler system, not far from where Marcus and Zarathiel had first met. The hybrid defenders didn't just repel the attack, they transformed it into something beautiful. Void Reaper ships, designed only for destruction, were convinced to remember their origins as raw matter from distant stars. The beings within, consumed by endless hunger, were offered the peace of true understanding. Some of the Reapers chose dissolution rather than change, but others, faced with a force that offered transformation instead of destruction, laid down their weapons and requested to understand this new way of being. The war that had threatened to consume the galaxy became something else entirely, an invitation to growth that spread from star to star. Species that had never dreamed of cooperation found themselves part of a vast network of consciousness that celebrated difference while building unity. Years later, Marcus and Zarathiel stood together on the observation deck of the New Harmony, a ship that was as much organism as machine, grown from the merged technologies and dreams of 100 species. Around them, space teemed with life and consciousness in forms that would have been unimaginable before the blood bond. "Do you ever regret it?" Marcus asked, watching as a pod of star whales sang complex mathematics to a group of crystalline beings from the Andromeda spiral. "Giving up what we were to become what we are?" Zarathiel's laugh was like music given form, harmonizing with the cosmic symphony that now filled their enhanced perceptions. "We gave up nothing. We gained everything. Look around us, Marcus. We are no longer alone in the universe. We are the universe discovering itself." Through their shared consciousness, they could feel the network expanding. New species joining the collective every day, each adding their unique perspective to the growing understanding of what was possible when consciousness chose cooperation over competition, growth over stagnation, love over fear. The blood bond had become something neither had imagined, not just a bridge between two species, but the foundation for a new kind of existence where the boundaries between self and other, between individual and collective, between matter and consciousness, were revealed to be choices rather than limitations. In the end, the story that began with a simple act of compassion in the void had become the first chapter of a new kind of civilization, one that would eventually encompass not just their galaxy, but all of creation itself.